What is good, everybody? Jake here with Venture Visuals, and today I am so excited to show you guys how to create this dope impact ripple effect that will make any footage hit harder. This effect is super unique and it's easily becoming one of my favorite effects to use in my own edits. I hope you guys have been doing awesome. I've been editing a lot of music videos, taking some time to update my website and my editing pack. Make sure to let me know down in the comments what types of updates do you want to see from my video editing packs. I'm super curious to hear what you guys have to say. We're gonna be starting in Premiere Pro and we're gonna be taking a look at two separate examples. So for this first effect, we're going to be adding it to this music video for Master Roshi, who sent me in some really awesome footage. I really enjoyed editing his music video. This is a really cool part in the song right here when the bass drop really kicks in. Now if I zoom in here on my timeline, we can see exactly where the bass is dropping based off the waveform files from the audio. So if you aren't able to see these spikes with the audio here, make sure to increase the size of your audio tracks. The bass really hits right here in the song. So what we're gonna do is come to that part in our footage and we're gonna make a quick cut as that bass starts hitting. Now with the second part of this clip, what we're gonna do is nest it to lock in the frame rate for After Effects. We're gonna right click on it and hit replace with After Effects composition. Here in After Effects, the first thing we're gonna do is duplicate our layer. So we're gonna click on our layer and hit Command D, come up to our Roto Brush tool here at the top and double click on this layer. I'm just gonna spend a little time rotoscoping this first frame here of the artist. And this is just because we don't want the effect to start impacting the shape of the artist as well. We want it to impact the background around the artist. Now I'm just gonna change a few settings over here on my Roto Brush tool. We're gonna switch it from standard to best, switch our feather up a little bit, increase the contrast, decrease the shift edge, and reduce the chatter, all by very small amounts. And then I like to turn on motion blur and decontaminate edge colors. This usually gives me the best results when I'm rotoscoping. So what I'm gonna do now is just hit the space bar and After Effects is gonna automatically try to rotoscope out the rest of these frames. Once it's done, you can see it's pretty smooth. It's pretty locked on to the outline of the artist. So what we're gonna do at this point is just click our freeze button. And this is just gonna lock in our rotoscope mask. Now that it's done freezing our rotoscopes, we're gonna come back up here at the top and click on our composition. The next step for us is to come over here to Effects and Presets and type in S_warp and look for this one called S_warp puddle. And we're gonna click and drag this onto our background layer. Now you will not have these plugins installed automatically in After Effects. They are third-party plugins by Boris Effects, and they're all a part of the Sapphire suite. So I'll include a link to get all of these plugins down below in the description. The first thing we're gonna do is just drag the middle of our warp puddle effect kind of to be closer to his chest area right there. Now, if we take a look over under our effect controls at the S_warp puddle plugin, you can see all the different options and you can understand that this is a very customizable plugin. We're gonna make a few keyframes here on this first frame for amplitude, frequency, center X, Y, and then outer radius as well. We're going to change the amplitude to 0. We're going to change the frequency to 12. We're going to leave the center XY where it is. And then we're going to decrease the outer radius until that green circle is kind of just right in line with the width of his outline. Now with our background layer selected, I'm going to hit U on my keyboard, and that's going to open up every setting that we just changed. Now this is a lot easier to look at than all the settings that you can use up here. So that's why I like to just hit U on my keyboard once I've set the keyframes that I want to change. It just keeps things a little bit more simple and easier to manage. So what I'm going to do now is just take my playhead, scroll down to the very end of this clip, and we're going to change a few things. The first thing we're going to change is the amplitude. Let's take this to a 0.1. Let's take the frequency from a 12 to a 4. Let's select the center X and Y and make sure that we move it in line with his chest area. And now the most important one to change is the outer radius. So we're going to increase this outer radius quite a bit until the circle is pretty much out of the frame. So you can see there, it's now out of the frame. Click and drag these last keyframes here all the way to the end. I'm going to highlight all these first keyframes, right click, keyframe assistant, easy ease out. And then to put the cherry on top, I like to use a plugin called RSMB, which is also a third-party plugin that just adds a little bit of motion blur to this effect. So I'm just gonna click and drag it onto my background layer and pretty much just leave it at the default. I might even take the blur amount down just to like a 0.4 instead of a 0.5. You'll notice in these little detailed areas where there's a lot of motion happening, if we turn off the RSMB, you can just see the difference there. So it just adds a little bit of more natural motion blur and it just makes it look a little bit more cohesive. Now we've pretty much finished this effect. So what I'm gonna do is hit Command S to save this back into Premiere Pro. Let's check out what this effect is looking like in full speed. We're gonna do one more example for today's video using this skate clip of my buddy Tyler doing a tray flip, and I just love how it looks, but we're gonna add that little bit of extra sauce to really take it to a new level. So there is no beat behind this footage. We're just gonna add this ripple impact effect as soon as he lands the trick. So check this out. This is the raw clip here. So we're just gonna find the point at where we want the effect to really start happening. So he kind of catches the board right about there. He's about to come in for a landing. So this is where we want the effect to really start happening right before he lands and hits the ground. So what we're gonna do is just make a cut on our clip. We're going to right click the second half of this, select Nest to lock in our frame rate. We're gonna right click it again and come up to replace with After Effects composition. Now we're gonna do the same thing we did before, duplicate our first layer, rotoscope our subject. All right, now that we've finished our rotoscoping, we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna hit freeze and let After Effects freeze all of our rotoscopes. Come back up here to composition. And now instead of just starting this effect from scratch, what I'm gonna do is just come back to our old composition. I'm gonna copy our S-Warp puddle over to our background layer on this new composition. We're just gonna change a few things like the center point and basically drag these keyframes all the way out to the end here. Let's make sure to change the center point so that it's following my boy Tyler right there. I actually think I want the center to kind of be around his board more than his body. So let's just move the center down there and then do the same thing here at the end. Make sure that it just follows the board all the way through. And then just after doing some fine tweaks, we're gonna do the same thing we did before and just take the RSMB plugin, toss it onto our background layer and take it down to a 0.4. The last thing I'm gonna do is just highlight both of my layers, pre-compose them just to keep things simple here on the timeline. And then I'm gonna right click in this space, select new, adjustment layer, and you're gonna see this adjustment layer pop up here on our timeline. I'm gonna go to the very first frame here, and with my adjustment layer selected, I'm gonna come up here to window and we're gonna open Shake Sauce. Shake Sauce is a third-party plugin that was created by Brian Delamata, another really great YouTuber here on the platform who teaches video editing. Now what this plugin does is it gives you really quick and easy shake effects within seconds, and it's really awesome because you can actually see what these shakes are gonna look like before you apply it to your clip. One of my favorite presets in this plugin to use is this quick hit with flash. So as I scroll over it, you can see it gives you a little preview of what it's going to look like when you put it on your footage. So let's just double click the quick hit with flash. Once we've double clicked on quick hit with flash, we'll just close out of the plugin, and you'll see up here we do have some options to change if we want to customize the overall shake intensity. So from here, I would play it back, but unfortunately I know this is going to be very GPU intensive because we've got several different effects happening. So what I'm going to do to make this easier to preview is just come up here to composition and add it to my render queue and render this out so that we can see it in Premiere Pro with no lag. We just finished the export. It did take a few minutes because of all the effects that go into this, and I did do a little bit of extra tweaking to get this looking right. So now all there's left to do is really just add a super dope beat with a nice beat drop so that we can really emphasize this effect. So that's what I'm gonna do. I do have a beat here. I'm gonna drag it into my timeline, line it up, and I'm gonna let you guys see how this looks as soon as I get this perfect on the drop. Let me me know down below if you guys have any questions or concerns. And if you're a video editor who's looking to take your work to the next level, make sure to check out my website, venturvisuals.com. I have overlays, title templates, presets, and more, all of which you can try for free when you download the free pack. So if that interests you at all, definitely check out the links down below in the description. It felt great to make this video. I really loved how these effects turned out with the examples that we used today, and I know that you guys will create some super dope stuff with this plugin as well. So make sure to send me your work on Instagram at venturvisuals. And again, I really appreciate everyone for tuning in. Until next time, I'm Jake Venner. Peace out.